Okay, so today we're tackling a really big one, a paradox that I think sits right at the heart of what it means to be human these days. Why on earth would anyone have kids in a world like this?
I mean, it's a question a lot of us are wrestling with, right? Because let's be honest, the reasons not to have kids, well, they're kind of staring us in the face every time we turn on the news. You've got rising costs, you've got climate fears, you've got global instability. It's just this constant drumbeat of anxiety. Logically, you'd think, wow, this is a really, really tough time to even think about starting a family.
And yet, people do. That deep, fundamental drive to have kids, to create the next generation, it's still there. It persists. And that is the generative paradox we're going to get into today. All right, so to really get this, we've got to rewind the clock. I mean, way back. Because to understand this very modern decision, we first have to look at the ancient biological hardware that's basically running the show in the background. It's like the operating system we don't even know is there. And you know, a huge piece of this puzzle comes down to one tiny little molecule with a massive job, oxytocin. We call it the social bonding hormone, but it's so much more than that. Think of it like a master controller for everything from birth to bonding to social connection. And the crazy thing is, the system that runs it is ancient. So what's fascinating here is how you can see our reproductive software being built in these different layers over millions and millions of years. The oldest genes, they go back over 1 billion years, just managing basic cell stuff. Then you get a new set, but this modern layer, the one that includes oxytocin itself, that's over 500 million years old. I mean, to put that in perspective, this programming is older than dinosaurs. It's older than trees. And this table just shows so clearly how all those layers still work inside us today. The ancient genes are still doing their thing, keeping our cells in balance all over our bodies. But it's those modern genes, the ones that showed up with the very first vertebrates, that are really lighting up in our brains. They're the ones driving our complicated social lives, that desire we have to connect, and that deep, powerful instinct to nurture. So here's the bottom line on the biology part. This desire to have a family, to nurture, it isn't just some modern cultural idea we can decide to turn on or off. No way. It's a deeply, deeply hardwired program, written over hundreds of millions of years of evolution, for one simple reason: survival. Okay, so we have this ancient biological blueprint, but let's shift gears and look at the mind, the psychology of it all. Because even with that primal drive, we're thinking beings. We still need a reason, a why. And it turns out, in a world that feels so chaotic, parenting offers a really powerful one. And you know, the research on this is pretty clear. When all the other things we used to rely on for meaning, career, religion, even community, when those things start to feel a little shaky or unstable, family often becomes this super strong central pillar of a meaningful life. It's like raising kids gives you this undeniable sense of purpose. And this isn't some brand new idea. A psychologist named Erik Erikson actually had a name for it: generativity. It's basically this fundamental human drive we all have to guide and shape the next generation, to create something that's going to outlast us. It's all about leaving a legacy, a positive mark on the world. So, how does this legacy motivation actually change how we think? Well, for starters, it makes the future feel personal and immediate, not like some abstract concept. Then, it expands our moral circle. Suddenly, you're not just worried about your neighborhood. You're thinking about the kind of world your grandkids are going to inherit. And finally, it snaps our day-to-day decisions into alignment with our core values, which, let me tell you, is a powerful, powerful antidote to feeling hopeless. All right, let's talk about the big one, the one that feels the most real and, frankly, the most stressful for so many of us: money. Because there is just no getting around the financial pressure. Look at that number, over $300,000. That's the latest estimate for what it costs a middle-income family to raise just one child to age 17. And that's before you even think about college. It's a staggering figure. Just let that sink in for a second. And a number like that has a huge real-world impact, right? It helps explain why you see these massive percentages, 84% of Gen Z, 71% of millennials, saying that, yeah, the economy is a big, big deal and whether or not they have kids. The anxiety around money is absolutely real. But is that the whole economic story? What if we're only looking at one side of the ledger? What if, over the long haul, family actually provides a totally different kind of economic value.
Now, this is super interesting. This chart shows something kind of counterintuitive. What the research finds is that older folks living in multi-generational homes, with their adult kids and grandkids all under one roof, are actually less likely to be in poverty. But look at the flip side. Skip generation homes, where it's just grandparents raising the grandkids, their poverty risk actually goes up. It's a huge difference. So what this tells us is that even though the upfront costs are insane, the family unit itself can act as a kind of long-term social insurance. It becomes this built-in safety net, a way to pool resources and get through the tough economic times together. Okay, so we've covered biology, psychology, and economics. Let's get to the final, and maybe the biggest, piece of the puzzle. Because all of this really builds to a profound philosophical choice, a choice about the future itself. And look, there's no question that these dystopian pressures are very real. I mean, climate anxiety is now directly linked to people wanting fewer kids. You have potential parents feeling like it's their moral duty not to have children, to save resources. And of course, there's the fear about what kind of world a child would even have to live in. These are heavy, heavy concerns. So when you strip it all away, the decision really comes down to two competing philosophies, two completely different ways of looking at the world. On one hand, you have antinatalism, the view that it's actually morally wrong to procreate because life is just full of suffering. And on the other hand, you have this idea of radical hope, the view that having a child is a profound act of faith in a future that might be better than what we can see right now. And if you look at it through that lens of radical hope, then having kids isn't some naive or selfish thing to do. It's actually the ultimate act of defiance. It's a way of looking at all the scary, dystopian stuff in the world and saying, no, you don't get the final say. It's seeing the act of raising the next generation as the ultimate investment in a better future. Which brings us to the final, lingering question, doesn't it? In this world, a world so full of crises, is having a child the ultimate act of hope? Is choosing to bring a new life into it, to guide them, to believe in them, is that the most powerful thing we can do? The paradox is still there, for sure. But maybe the answer just depends on which one of those philosophies you decide to live by.